Hello, welcome to 2024. I'm probably not the first person to wish you a Happy New Year, and we are going to get straight on to the content of Videocast 144 of Adventures in Pop. Thank you for joining me. And if you enjoy these videos and if you're enjoying the series as much as I am, and I'm enjoying them a lot actually, then I invite you to subscribe. I'm about 30 or so subscribers short of 2,000, and I'd love to get to 2,000. And I think you would be particularly good as a subscriber, and it's a very easy job. You just do nothing and watch some of the videos, I guess. Anyway, you're terribly welcome, whether you do or whether you don't. Today, I want to talk about. I want to talk about charts. Actually, I don't always get very bogged down or even interested in the list that comes out weekly, whether it's here in America or anywhere else in the world, of best-selling singles and albums and all the rest of it. But the only reason you haven't heard about it very much is I've managed to suppress my normal desire just to witter on about chart placings. When I was little, I'm going to share this with you. Don't tell anyone. When I was little, I used to be transfixed by the BBC UK top 30 or top 40 chart, and I would stand in the playground with an ear pressed to my radio to listen to the countdown. And then at some point, I'm talking about being, I guess, 13 or 14 or maybe 15 years old. I'm probably old enough to know better. I would write down the full chart as quickly as I could, because you had to kind of keep up with the person, doing the chart rundown. Sometimes I didn't really know the way of spelling the artist or the song. I didn't quite catch it always. So there were some fabulous, misspellings and misunderstandings captured along the way. But then what I would do, not content just to write down the chart from, 40 down to 1, I would then, certainly in the early days when I probably had a little bit too much time on my hands, I would then put them into the order that I thought they should be in. I mean, talk about opinionated at an early age. I do remember in those early days, and this dates it quite nicely. Very early on, as I was just starting this strange habit, this obsessional thing about charts and chart placings, and the songs, of course, that went with them. I had as number one, I can remember this quite clearly, Life on Mars by David Bowie, for as long as I could keep it there. So basically, it was allowed to be my number one for as long as it remained in the UK chart. And then when it was gone, I had to obviously find other things to replace it. So that probably tells us that this was, I think, 1973. And this was the re-release of Life on Mars, because obviously Hunky Dory came out in, I think, 71, and it was a couple of years later, as David Bowie was beginning to become a really big established artist, that there were some of these re-releases to catch up on things that we've missed from earlier albums. So there we go. Anyway, that is a long way, a nice introduction way of saying I want to focus this time not on the chart of 1973 or putting it in the order that I think is correct, because I think we just have to let that go now, don't we, really? I want to talk instead about the albums that have made it to the top of the list for the year-end chart of 2023. So the BBC and the chart companies have given us the top-selling albums of 2023, and it's very interesting because when you look down the list, and this is the headline really, you look down the list, particularly of the top 10, there is not one single genuinely new album of new music in that top 10, and I think that's a problem. I think that's a bit of a kind of, music industry. Yes, apparently the numbers are all good and the music industry is ever so healthy on the surface, but when you look at it, the top 10 is full of greatest hits and albums that you've had for years and years. Should we get into it? I'm going to share this with you. So let's have a look at what is in that final roundup of 2023 album-wise here in the UK. And I think if we're going to do justice to this, we probably need to count it down, don't we, from 10 to 1. Otherwise, I'll be thrown out immediately. So here we go. Number 10, ABBA's Greatest Hits. I mean, really? I mean, that's been in the chart for about 326 years. So ABBA's Greatest Hits was the 10th best-selling album of 2023. Number 9, interesting, Arctic Monkeys AM. But that album is about 10 years old, if I'm right. I think it came out in 2013. Good album. But what's it doing in the roundup of 2023? It's a 10-year-old album. What else have we got here? We got SOS. We've got Eminem Curtain Call the Hits, so a greatest hits album from Eminem. We've got 50 years of Fleetwood Mac, Don't Stop. That's lovely. We've got Harry's House, Harry Style, that came out the year before. We've got Elton John, Diamonds. I love Elton John, but number 4 in the best-selling album of 2023. Then we need to talk a little bit about Taylor Swift, don't we? Because if one glance at this list, and you are immediately struck by how many times Taylor Swift's name comes up. She is on fire, to put it mildly. So that's fabulous. But what we've got here are some of the albums that Taylor Swift has re-recorded as a result of this copyright conflict, where she's decided to take back control. And for goodness sake, I completely applaud her for doing this. But again, it just says, what is the general health of our music industry when Taylor Swift's 1989, Taylor's version, is number 4, and Taylor Swift Midnights is number 3. And while we're on the subject of Taylor Swift, she's also number 11, 12, 13, 21, 24. That'll do, won't it? Yeah, there we go. So we have a roundup top 40 that is incredibly dominated by Taylor Swift. And look, this is nothing about Taylor Swift. I've got no problem with Taylor Swift whatsoever. It's just the concern that you have to go quite a long way down here before you find an actual new album released in 2023 of new music. Because although technically 1989 Taylor's version was released in 2023, it's not new music. It was released ages ago. You have to go down as far as Lewis Capaldi, Broken by Desire to be Heavenly Sent. That was his second album, did come out in 2023, did very well indeed. That is the 14th best-selling album of the year. And in fact, closely followed by Olivia Rodrigo's second album called Guts, number 15. So you've got to go quite a way down, out of the top 10 before you find an original album. Elsewhere in this top 40, you will find the greatest collection from the following: Oasis, from Queen. You'll find The Essential, Michael Jackson. You'll find, let's find some more of these, there are plenty. Curtain Call 2, Eminem. Let's have a look. We've got the Diamond Collection from Post Malone. We've got the best of Whitney Houston. We've got 30 number 1 hits from Elvis Presley, and we've got the singles of Maroon 5. Now, dotted around them, we have got Pink, Trustful. So, a bit of new music here and there. We've got Hackney Diamonds by Rolling Stones. It's done incredibly well. That's number 27 in this roundup here. Anything else that we can actually get excited about? It's difficult, isn't it? We've got Lana Del Rey, Born to Die. That was 2009, maybe 2012. Delete the 2009 comment, but for goodness sake, it's still an old album. It was, as you will well know, it was her first. It was her debut, and it did very, very well indeed. And Lana Del Rey is still extraordinarily popular, and I've got no problem with that either. But number 28. Okay. So what does this say about where we are in the world at the moment? I think, I could just castigate all of you and say lack of imagination, but it's not you. This is about something about the music industry that is very good at delivering nicely packaged, greatest hits. And that's what we tend to go for, even in this world where actually we are consuming song by song, mostly on streaming. It's a strange state of affairs. Now, look, those are the numbers, and there is a little bit of commentary around this, which I picked up from The Guardian, which is extremely interesting. In The Guardian, there was an article this week with a headline which is actually putting a very positive slant on what they found in the UK singles chart. Now, I've been talking about the album chart, so this is the singles chart. Female pop stars celebrate record-breaking year on UK singles chart. Now, we've talked about women in the industry a couple of times before, and about how difficult it is to find, for example, women in the role of producer in the music industry, or women in the role of DJ, particularly clubbing DJs, and how difficult it is for them to be kind of working in what is often a very male environment, and rather traditional male environment, even though we are talking about the music industry, which you would kind of think would want to be, cutting edge, progressive, and all the rest of it. So this is a real marked improvement, but again, it does go back to some of the points we're already making. Women claimed an unprecedented 31 weeks on the top 40. This is the singles again, and accounted for 48.5% of all songs that reached the top 10, and 7 of the year's 10 biggest songs. Okay, good. The last 12 months proved a record-breaking year for female musicians in the music industry, according to new figures from the BPI. Women spent 31 weeks at the top of the chart. 10 of those weeks actually was one song, and it was Miley Cyrus with Flowers, and that was the biggest single of the year. But along with her was Dua Lipa, Ellie Goulding, Kenya Grace, Ray, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift. Goulding's track Miracle was a collaboration with Calvin Harris, it reminds us, and the rest of the top 10 was made up by Dave and Central C and Nigerian singer Rema. BPI Chief Executive Dr. Joe Twist celebrated the shift but advised against complacency. Our work in the music industry continues to ensure this becomes the norm. Additionally, 48.5% of all the songs reaching the top 10 were by women. That's good. However, the long tail effect of streaming meant there were no new albums released in 2023 in the year's overall top 10, and they make the point about the exception being Taylor Swift's 1989, which of course we know was 10 years old, and it says here actually came out in 2014. That's right. Otherwise, top 10 albums featured many of the same suspects as the 2022 list. Nearly all of them greatest hits collections. So The Weeknd's The Highlights was the year's number one album, followed by Elton John's... Oh, I didn't actually get round to saying that, did I, before? How bad is it to give a rundown and then to forget to actually get to the very top? So yeah, number one UK album of 2023 was The Weeknd and The Highlights. And it came out actually in 2021. And then it just talked about how streaming is now 80% of the overall recorded market. But, as I say, we've got this strange situation with so many old tracks. So what can I say? Let's focus ourselves on trying to change that let's support and listen to often and go out and hunt down really good new music. And oh, that reminds me, talking of really good new music, which really everyone should listen to, I've got a new single out next week. So my first single of 2024 is called Fall in Love With Me. It will be out at the end of next week, so we're looking at, let's give you a precise date. I like to be a little bit, at least a little bit accurate with you occasionally. So it's the 12th of January, next Friday, as I sit here today talking to you. Fall in Love With Me, my first single of 2024, my sixth single from this kind of collection that comes from Strange Alien. I think you'll like it. There'll be a video and all the rest of it. And as I've said before, I will be struggling away with sorting out how to do some promotion through Facebook advertising using Facebook and Instagram. Believe me, that takes years of my life to make that happen, because it's as complicated as... It's more complicated than filling in a very difficult tax return. How about that? Talking as we're this time of the year and everyone's supposed to be finishing them off. So, do come back next week and I'll be sharing with you, probably, this time next week, I'll share with you a new video, the new song, and tell you all about this track, which has been a good year or so in the making, almost 2 years in the making. and I hope you will agree that it's been time well spent. All right, listen, let's leave it there. I've finished having a little rant about old music. Some of that old music, by the way, I have to say, is fantastically good, and I understand why people want to listen to it. It's just, you know, from time to time, we just need to make sure it gets a bit of a refresh. I'll see you again next week. You take care. As I say, enjoy your January, whatever it is you're doing, and we'll catch up again very soon. See ya.